A very warm welcome to the participants of the Proteomics Advanced Winter School 2021. Presented by Proteomics Lab, Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. Day 3, Mass Spectrometry-Based Proteomics. Lecture 2, Sample Preparation for MS-Based Proteomics.
I will give you an idea for different workflow involved in doing mass spec-based proteomics. We will show you the demonstration of in-gel digestion, in-solution digestion, peptide quantification, and then we will also inject the peptide in our mass spec. I will show you live. By the time we will take the lunch break, the samples will be run in the instrument, and then we are going to analyze the data post-lunch. So please do feel as if you are in the lab right now and we are doing this activity together, and we will be doing certain steps which you should be involved, and then the data has to be analyzed post-lunch. So broadly, just to gather from the morning sessions, I hope by now you are clear that there are several steps involved in doing any mass spectrometry based proteomics experiment. And I'm just walking you through a very beautiful review written by Dr. Matthias Mann and Sheen, which talks about ABCs and XYZ of peptide sequencing. We will give you this paper to read. It just walks you through of different steps involved in doing the mass spec based proteomics. So of course we have done the sample preparation part in the first module, and whether you use now the SDS page gel or 2D gels or directly moving with the your sample for the in solution, you are going to follow this workflow. So let's say you have taken your the SDS page gel and or a 2D gel, and you are excising the bands or the spots from the gels, and then you are going to digest those. So that will be the this focus of this session, how to do the protein digestion to make the peptides. And then further you want to separate these peptides in the liquid chromatography, where we are going to use nano LC, given that we are working on the peptides. But sometimes you can also use the UHPLC and other type of chromatographic configurations. So that will be the third part. Once this sample has been injected in the nano LC, then you are going to set up this gradient of reverse phase HPLC configuration, because you want to elute out your peptides from the the nano LC, which has to be further injected to the mass spectrometer. So for doing that, you are mostly people prepare the 5% acetonitrile to 80 or 85% acetonitrile gradient with 0.1% formic acid, and that is shown in a mobile phase A or B. And initially you equilibrate your system A here. You are going to load the peptides, then you are going to increase the gradient of B, and then you are keep washing the reverse phase column with B. Then once the experiment is done, then you can re-equilibrate A and start the next injection. So in the nano LC, again we'll spend some time on these things in the afternoon, but you want to make sure that you have set up a good gradient of peptide separation. And initially, you can just work with some tentative guidelines. Here in this case, what we are using, we are showing 5% to 95% of increasing gradient, and especially a 30% maximum time has been given for the peptide separation. So this part of how much, and this gradient is set up for 2 hours, other gradient which is shown here for 4 hours. So again, there are several questions here. What should be my column which I should use? So you're using reverse phase column, C18 material. How long I should run separate the peptides on my column? It depends on the length of the column as well, and also how much coverage you want to obtain. So in our case, we are using 50 centimeter long column. Sometimes people use 5 or 10 centimeter column. So depending on the length of the column, you can achieve the better separation. And there are people who are making their own columns, and they can actually go much longer than that, and they can separate really well. So now with 2 hours of run gradient, you are trying to elute out your peptides sequentially, and you want to achieve some sort of Gaussian pattern. And that's something which, after you have done the ionization part, and if this ionization has worked well, this part is shown here is the electrospray ionization inlet part, which you can see in the zoom in image here with the camera. And I'll go to the lab and we'll show you the injection so that you can see that part. Once you have done that, then now the samples which are peptide ions, they are moving it inside the mass analyzer, and we are going to use Orbitrap fusion for this particular experiment to separate your peptides and identify the proteins of interest. So once you have done this, then you are going to see this kind of chromatogram of peptides, which is showing you the time and the intensity on X and Y axis. And what you see here, the bushes, these are the actually peptides which you are separating from the column. And this is where I was telling that you need to achieve, or you want to achieve, a Gaussian distribution of the peptide. It should slowly start coming, after the initial baseline, then it should slowly start eluting out from the column, and then you want to get it slowly coming up, and then you are changing the gradient in such a way that finally with 95% acetonitrile or so, it is totally taking off everything from the column. So now you want to wash the column again with some blanks, and then you want to take this next sample injection after the blank has been run. So you don't want to have a lot of carryover effect, although whatever you do, you will still have some carryover, and that's why you need to run a couple of blanks. But if you can achieve this kind of gradient, which means you have, the peptides are bound to the column, they are slowly ejecting out of the column, and then after reaching out to saturation level, then you are eluting them out. And this part requires considerable optimization from the LC parameter point of view, because you want to change different gradient, you want to change different times so that you can achieve this kind of optimum Gaussian pattern. Now you are looking at your data for MS and MSMS analysis. You are going to look at the different ion patterns. Again, these parts will come into the data analysis part, which I will talk to you post lunch. But right now we will try to see how to acquire the data and reach something like this, right? So the sample preparation workflow, where we started in our first module, was essentially that we showed you take any kind of tissue biopsy or any other sample, which is going to be, which is already frozen in the -80 or -20 freezers. You're going to weigh the tissue, and then you're going to do tissue lysis, sonication or bead beating, and then you're going to add the urea lysis buffer, centrifuge those, collect the supernatant in the fresh vial, determine the protein concentration. We showed you a method with Bradford assay. You can use 2D quant or other method as well. And then you can run the samples on the gel. Preferably 5 to 10 microgram is good to load on the SDS page gel. After doing the loading, then you are looking at the gel profile to see my different tissue samples, how they are, some looks little low on the concentration or the quantification, but some of them are really good for the overall distribution of the protein. And once you have achieved something like this, visually looking at your protein quality on the gel, and you are happy, satisfied with the concentration of the protein, then you are moving forward for the in-gel digestion in this case, because if you have run on the gel and you want to cut the bands, or alternatively, sometimes people do even if you don't want to cut a specific band, you can cut the entire lane, that well, and then chop down into 10-15 pieces, and then each piece you are separately doing in-gel digestion, and now then you want to pool that whole thing as a one sample. That could be other cleanup strategy. Think about if your sample, what you are preparing, your protein extract, that is in a kind of a buffer which is not very compatible for doing mass spec, right? And that is not very good for doing even the digestion. So if you run in the SDS page is going to make it really immune proof in a way that whatever comes on the gel, you can cut that and you can do the good in-gel digestion and run on the mass spec, it will work. So all the interference will actually go off, because those will not be running in the gel, and then you are overcoming any buffer effect on that. So if you encounter any problem like this, please do go with the gel based module, run the sample on the gel and excise the gel pieces, all of that, and then cut all the bands, proceed for in-gel digestion, pull them together and treat them as if you got the in solution digestion in a tube, right? Okay, so now you are excising these bands, going to perform some steps of washing and dehydration, because first you want to destain the gel, because you have stained it here right now. So some steps will be performed for destaining that. Alternatively, you can start with the directly lysate and proceed for the in solution digestion, and even you can go as low as around 20 microgram of protein. Even if you get that much, is sufficient for doing your project, but preferably you start with around 50 microgram minimum. And what you're talking is the minimum guidelines, given we understand that extracting protein and from the precious samples are not easy, and you don't want to try everything for just one project. So you go with minimum amount, but 25 to 50 microgram is good amount of protein to start digestion. Then do reduction with TCEP and follow several steps of performing the in-gel digestion, followed by overnight treatment with trypsin, or if you have got the very high quality trypsin, you can do a couple of hours only. After the trypsinization is done, then you can proceed for the sample cleanup and use the C18 filter zip tips to clean up the peptides, remove the salt, and now reconstitute them in 0.1% formic acid. Proceed for peptide quantification step, and then inject that sample in the LCMS. So this is kind of broad overview picture. I hope you are getting about all things to be done before actually mass spec comes into the picture, right? And these two, I think, is the most crucial. If you can prepare good samples starting from your initial sample, whatever you are start working with, and reach out to here till doing good peptide cleanup, I think you have done 90% of proteomics yourself, right? Rest things are all kind of very easy thing to do, and you are definitely going to get very high quality data if you have achieved all these steps properly. So we will just talk about the in-gel digestion first, that how to perform the in-gel digestion in some more detail. And before doing that, why at all you need to do the in-gel digestion? Why not just take that entire thing and subject that in the mass spec analysis, right? So that is a question which may come to your mind, but think about the mass range which I was talking in the morning lecture of the mass analyzers, which is very limited, and you want to really reduce that within the scope of this mass analyzer. That's why you are doing trypsin digestion, and you're also generating multiple charge state, multiple charge species, so that the overall mass range can be reduced within the range of these mass analyzer, which can read that, right? And typically we all use the enzyme trypsin as for digestion, but that's not the only enzyme which you should use. If you're working on a difficult to digest protein, you can always try out lyse. Lyse along with trypsin cocktail works very well as well. And sometimes people also try the serine endopeptidases, different type of chymotrypsin, etc. for other type of protein digestion, right? There's some basic stuff here. The trypsin is going to work on the C-terminal side of cleaving the lysine and arginine residues. And only when you see a proline, it's going to create problem. And if you are going to have less amount of protein on the gel band, that is really very easy to do with the in-gel digestion. You have to maintain the enzyme and substrate ratio. You cannot just go with the bookish knowledge of this much amount of trypsin I'm going to use irrespective of what my band size is. Typically you can use 1 millimeter square band, just cut that 1 millimeter square from the even big thing, thick piece of the gel. You don't have to take the whole band per se, but if you want to do that, then you have to increase the overall trypsin enzyme so that it can completely work on that particular substrate. So let me show you one of the demo steps of performing in-gel digestion. And broadly what we are going to show that protein spot you from the 2D gel or protein band from the LGS page. In either way, your workflows are going to be same, and you're just going to take those in the tube. You start with your the de-staining step to remove any of the stains left in the tube. Proceed for the reduction, alkylation, and digestion steps. So let's watch this demo.
Gel digestion. So before the actual trypsin digestion, we have to perform various steps, in which the first step is we have to cut the particular gel, the band of interest, and then we have to remove the stain that is in the band, and then after that we have to reduce and alkylate the protein, and after that we have to perform digestion. So now we'll show you step by step various steps of in-gel digestion.
As Meher mentioned, the very first step is to take out protein, and for that we'll cut the band. Here we can see one very dark band, so we'll take it out. So this is how we cut the band. Take the band out and keep it in a sterile 1.5 or 2 ml tubes. So before placing it, chop it and make it into several small pieces and then keep it in a tube. You can store these cutted gel for 5 to 7 days in -20, but preferably do the extraction in the same day. So in the tube, to the gel pieces, first we have to add ammonium bicarbonate, which helps in the ionic interaction in the protein. Then we'll incubate or vortex for 5 minutes, and after that we'll add solution A. This contains ABC plus acetonitriles that functions in the removal of dye from the protein. To the gel pieces, now we'll add 200 microliter of ABC, that is ammonium bicarbonate. After adding, we'll vortex it for 5 minutes. Once vortex is done, we have to give a brief spin, followed by removal of the supernatant. So now I'll remove ABC from the tube. After removal of ABC, now we'll add solution A that contains ABC and acetonitrile, and this will help in the removal of stain or the CBB dye. So now we're adding solution A. The procedure is same. Now we'll vortex and spin. We'll vortex for 5 minutes, then we'll spin. So once vortex is done, we'll take the tube out and we'll give a short spin. Now you can see that after addition of ACN, that is solution A, the color is slightly green over here. That indicates the CBB stain from protein has started removing. We have to perform the cycle of addition of ABC and solution A at least for 3 times, so that almost all the stains are removed out of the gel. So we are again adding ABC, followed by vortex and spin. So now we'll remove the tube out, we'll give a short spin, followed by removal of the supernatant. And again, the addition of solution A. So these steps ensure the gels are undergoing rehydration and dehydration. So now we are removing the supernatant. So even after the removal of the dye by adding solution A, we can see the bluish color of gel. So before digestion, this should not be the case. Hence, we have to repeat this cycle at least for 3 times and preferably 5 times. So this helps in the removal of dye. So now we added 25 millimolar ABC again. We'll vortex it, followed by a short spin. We'll again remove the ABC, followed by addition of solution A. solution A. So basically we repeated the process of addition of ABC, that is called as rehydration, and addition of solution A, that is called as dehydration. So this rehydration and dehydration ensures the removal of CPP dye from the protein, and once this step is done, we'll see the gel, the blue color of gel will go and it will be transparent, it will be colorless. So again, we have to do the same. So now we can see the gel is quite colorless. Initially it was blue in color, but now the color of gel is quite transparent. So now we'll proceed with the reduction stage, that is addition of DTT. So now we'll add 10 millimolar DTT to the gel pieces. This will ensure the gel pieces are undergoing reduction reaction. That means breaking of disulfide linkage in protein. It will help in simplification of the protein. Now after addition of DTT, we'll incubate it for 1 hour at 56 degrees Celsius. You can see the temperature is maintained over here. So we'll incubate it for 1 hour. So after 1 hour, we'll remove the tube. We'll give a short spin because it was in 56 degrees. So we'll give a short spin followed by the removal of supernatant. After removal of DTT, we'll give a washing with 25 millimolar ABC. So now we'll add 25 millimolar ABC followed by a vortex of 5 minutes. Then after 5 minutes, we'll remove the tube and give a short spin. Now we'll remove the supernatant. So now we'll add IAA, which is an alkylating agent. So it will help in the maintaining of the reducing environment. So it will alkylate the free SH group and it will not allow the formation of further disulfide bonds. So since IA is light sensitive, we'll keep the tube for 10 minutes in dark. Once the incubation is done, we'll have to take the tube out. Now we'll remove the IAA content from the gel by giving a short spin . Now we are removing IAA. For complete removal of IAA, we'll have to add again 25 millimolar EDC. That is, we have to wash the gel with EDC. So now we are adding ammonium bicarbonate to the gel, followed by a vertex and short spin. Once vertex is done, we'll spin it. Now we remove the supernatant. So this step must be done twice before the addition of trypsin. So after ABC, now we are adding solution A. Now vertex, followed by a short spin. So now we'll give a short spin, followed by removal of solution A. Now we'll add solution. Now we'll add ABC. So the cycle will repeat the cycle for 2 times. So this is the second cycle. We're adding ABC. Now in vertex again, followed by a short spin. So this cycle of ABC and solution A will ensure the removal of DDT and the gel pieces are clean for the addition of trypsin. So again, addition of solution A. So now the solution is completely removed. But before the addition of trypsin, the solution must. So for that, we'll keep the tube at 50 to 60 degrees for 5 minutes for drying of the tube. Keep the tube and open the cap so that it will dry. So after 5 minutes, once it is completely dry, take the tube out. Now we'll take the tube and now we'll put it in ice. Since the gel piece are at around 50 degrees, we have to cool it for some time. Now we have placed the tube in ice for 5 minutes. So after 5 minutes, now we'll add trypsin in 1:30 ratio. Trypsin is to protein. So for 100 microgram of protein, we have to add around 3 microgram of trypsin. After addition of trypsin, we'll keep the tube at 4 degrees, that is in ice, for at least half an hour. After the incubation of 30 minutes, now we'll adjust the volume using ABC. Till the all the gel pieces are completely dipped inside the ABC. Followed by a gentle vortex and short spin. So now we'll incubate the gel that contains trypsin for 30 at 37 degree for 16 hours. So the trypsination is a lengthy step and it takes 16 hours to complete. So once the trypsination is done, we'll take the supernatant. Now the peptides are digested. Now the proteins are digested into peptides, and they are in the supernatant. So we'll take the supernatant out and we'll proceed with the extraction step. That is the sequential addition of gradient of acetonitrile. Okay. So now we'll demonstrate you the extraction step, which is done after 16 hours. So now we'll proceed with the extraction step with gradient of acetonitrile, that is acetonitrile starting from 50% to 80%. Okay. So now we'll start extraction process. So after 16 hours, we'll remove the tube from the staking incubator. Okay, and whatever content it is, now we'll add 50% of ACN and vortex it for 5 minutes, followed by a very short spin. Okay, so now we are adding ACN 50% to the gel pieces, which are already trypsinized. Vortex. Okay, so once the vortex is done after 5 minutes, take the tube out and we'll give a short spin. Now we'll collect the supernatant that contains the digested peptides and we'll keep it in a separate tube. So we are taking supernatant out and keeping in a fresh 1.5 ml tube. With the treatment of 50% ACN, the peptides are not completely out, and hence we have to add 60% ACN to the gel bank, which is followed by the same vortex and short spin for 5 minutes. So after 5 minutes, we'll take the tube out, followed by short spin, and then we'll collect the supernatant in our collection tube. To remove the peptide completely, we can increase the ACN percentage, and now we'll add 80% ACN to the gel pieces, and this will ensure the complete removal of peptide from the gel. Now vortex it for 5 minutes. Okay, so once after vortexing, we'll spin it and we'll collect it in the collection. these are the steps of in-gel digestion. So this is the elutant peptide kept in the tube. So to enrich or to increase the concentration of peptides, we'll split bag it. We'll vacuum dry it using a split bag. Once it is split bag, we'll concentrate. We'll reconstitute it in 0.1% formic acid. So now we are keeping the tube in a split bag to dry it. We will run this split bag for at least 1 hour. This will
All right. So, well, thank you, Meher and Abhilash, for this demo. So now you got this peptide, and next we are going to show you that how to do peptide quantification. And this is just, prior to injecting in the mass spectrometer. So a very quick step, please stay with us. We will show you peptide quantification, then inject the sample in the LC-MS, then we can have a lunch break. So over to Argyo here.
So basically we are using this multiplate reader. Like you can see, this is a multiplate reader what we are using. And just a general concept, like the peptides gives a good absorbance at 205. And if the peptide is not digested properly, if the proteins is present, then it will give a strong absorbance at 280. So now if you find the ratio of 205 and 280, you can easily identify like whether my peptides is present, like whether my digestion has happened good or bad. So I will just take the peptides. I have reconstituted my peptides in 0.1% Fa. I will just take my peptides. 2 microliter, it is highly sensitive. 2 microliter is good enough. 2 microliter is good enough to take the reading. So I have put in duplicates. After putting the duplicates, I will place the plate reader in the multi-scan go, which is a multiplate reader, and here is the software what I have done. So like you can save your study as 1702 peptide quant. In the plate layout, you will get a grid like this. We will select basically the thermo-specific microdrop plate. You will get a grid like this, and you can arrange according whether it is a blank or a standard, like what you want to arrange, or known or unknown. On the basis of, you can give the replicate concentration or others. In the protocol, we are absorbing 2 wavelengths. One is 205. I told you the peptides will give it the more abundance, like more absorption in 205. And if your peptides are not digested properly, like if your protein is not digested properly, we can get a peptide at absorbance at 280. So here is the absorbance what we have recorded. So you can find like the 205 by 280 is good. Like my 1.8 is for the peptide at 205, means 205 absorbance is good than the 280. That means the peptide is very nicely digested. You can make it out from here. You can generate the report, and after the generation of the report, you do a calculation. You generate a grid like this. You can do a calculation on the basis of the Scopes law, like what might be the peptide concentration that might be present, and once you determine that, we are good to go. So I have diluted the peptide according to my known concentration in this vial, which we are now going to place in the liquid handler, like in the LC for the further analysis.
So I think you want to make sure that the peptide concentration prior to injecting in the liquid chromatography, and preferably at least what we injected around 1 microgram of peptide. You can still go 500 nanograms or 750 nanogram, but it's good to try out at least 1 microgram to give you sufficient protein coverage, right? So this is the nano LC what you see here, which is shown here, and now let's inject this sample. So the bottom part of it is here where you can inject your sample in the tray, and as you can see, there are quite a bit of tubes you can place here, 96 cubes you can place, and then you can monitor those runs even remotely. You don't have to be in front of the instrument in this noise all the time. You can simply, inject your sample and start the run.
So like these are the two buffers you are seeing. One is the strong hydrophobic buffer, which we are using ACN, and one is hydrophilic, which we are using 0.1% Fa. The buffer A and buffer B travels from here. You can see this one as the analytical pre column. You can see this is the pre column, this is the C18 column. From the pre column, the samples are then passed to this analytical column, C18 column, and finally injected into the interface. So you can see it clearly here. So this is my needle, this is my ionization source, and it is going to bombard.
All right, so we are pretty much ready, with the peptides which are digested and quantified. We have now injected here, and we are actually going to start the run. So we are going to show you a bit of the settings, but I think maybe we can skip the setting right now. We will just start the acquisition part. So on the screen, what was showing there, waiting to acquire acquisition. Right. So if you can see on the screen, so the run is going to start now. And what we will do, we will make a short gradient of this for 30 minutes or so. We will run that sample. And there are different parameters which you need to play with it for the LC part and the MS and MSMS part. That we will talk in some other session, given that we are getting late right now. So, but we can at least start this run and data acquisition to start. And after that, you will get a chromatogram and you will get a file which you want to analyze, right? And that's what we are going to start in our post-lunch session. So that's all for this session right now. So I hope you are at least feeling you are in the lab, you are doing the work, and you are really participating in the workshop. It's not only virtual videos. And now you can take lunch, 45 minutes time you have, while MassSpec is acquiring data for you. And then we will provide you the data file and do the analysis of that, right? All right, that's all for this session. Thank you, everybody. Great, all right, thank you, bye-bye.